Landowners across the country have been encouraged to adopt and implement best practices when leasing lands to investors. The Deputy Chief Valuer at the Lands Commission, Stephen Kumado, who also doubles as the technical committee member of the Ghana Commercial Agriculture Projects, says the lack of surety about lands in Ghana is a put-off for investors, denying the country foreign direct investment in the process.
National workshop organized by the Ghana Commercial Agriculture Project under the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, the first in a series with the objective of helping both local and foreign investors to secure safe and litigation-free land, which the report says will expedite development and cultivation on lands across the country. The GCAP project coordinator explains what occasioned the research and the model lease agreement.
Well, you know,
from GCAP's perspective,
agriculture is about land, and under Ghana Commercial Agri Project, we expect to have under our project to have access to land, safe land, land that investors can be able to use, have peace of mind, that they can live for the period. We know the challenges that we have been having with lands. People get on the land and then have problem with the communities just because maybe it's only the chief who has engaged the investor. There are so many instances that you get. There's one instance where the investor has acquired so many hectares, thousands of hectares of land. He's only did with the chief. But he could not continue. So we said, okay, under our project, let's have a type of lease agreement that will be available to all the parties.
Presenting the report, Professor J.T. Bugri, a lecturer at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, says due to the lack of structure and well-grounded leasing systems, investors, both local and foreign, have suffered huge losses after investing in litigious lands. Professor Bugri, who also doubled as a lead consultant in the research, outlined some bottlenecks in the current land leasing agreement which discourages investors from investing in Ghana. Even though he believes the model is not a panacea to solving the challenges in the land leasing system in Ghana, Professor J.T. Bugri urged landowners to review their leasing agreements to instill confidence in investors.
No model can ever be a panacea to any problem, but what a model does is to present an opportunity for you to be able to do something pragmatic that would alleviate to a large extent the problem that you are faced with. And land problems are such that I describe them as wicked problems, and they defy one-size-fits-all solutions. So you might have to bring in a lot of other options to deal with the land problems in the country. The cue they have to take from this model is that they need to examine the model in detail, do that in consultation with their subjects, and pick on the sections that work for their particular land governance systems. It is not every community in Ghana that has the same type of land tenure. So if your particular area requires option A, you pick it. If the other area requires option B, they so pick it. Yes, because the intention is to make it comprehensive so that people in various communities can pick from that particular box.
The Deputy Chief Valuer at the Lands Commission, Stephen Kumado, welcomed the groundbreaking initiative by GCAP and explained why landowners must substitute and adopt best contemporary practices as it will boost investor confidence.
This is an exercise sponsored by the Ghana Commercial Agriculture Project because the project identified access to secure land as a major difficulty for investors, both local and foreign. And outside that, bad agreements between parties have been bringing friction between the investor and the land-owning community. So this project, through the support of the Lands Commission, is trying to come out of this model lease agreement so that in future, if there is any investor who wants to put his money on any land-based investment, that person could use it at best as a guide, with the Lands Commission providing technical support.
The report, among other things, identified weak legal policy on commercial agriculture investment, incomplete policy framework, and lack of coordination among state agencies. The report also recommended further decentralization of GCAP's operations and circumspection in the leasing of lands to foreigners. Latif Idrisu's report for Joy News.
Deputy General Secretary for the Convention People's Party, Kwame Jantua, says government should not have sought clarification from the courts over interpretation of the law on who manages the Tier 2 pension contributions. Speaking on the AM show earlier, Kwame Jantua opined government should have sat with Labour at the negotiation table to resolve those differences.
You're dealing with monies that are for the people. The monies aren't for anybody. It's their own money. And they say, no, we don't want this. So sit down with them. Tell us who you want. And let's see whether they will fall in. And still, government can still manage it if the people agree to the fund manager they want to use to handle this thing. I do believe that it is possible that the pensioners, the workers, do not have the wherewithal or capacity to identify or to handle it on their own. It could be so, but it could be that they also have the capacity. But there has to be a middle ground.
You can always take a private consultant to give you advice.
Yes, you can. You can always do that. I don't see why government is being so intransigent in terms of negotiating with them. This court thing, really and truly, will not take us anywhere. Yes, they will interpret. Look, you're telling workers to go back to work. What if they go to work and they don't work? You can force a horse to riverside. You can never force it to drink. They go to work, they don't teach their children. They are there, but they are at work. They go to the ministries, they are like a desical in how they handle. What can you do? We should try as much as possible. There are much important things to take care of in Ghana today that government needs to see to. We shouldn't let this thing extend past November.
He's also of the view political party manifestos are useless. He says that unless Ghana develops a national development plan, problems facing her will never be solved.
Generally, government says we will do X, government says we will do Y. That's why, for me, I say that party manifestos today are useless.
Why?
Absolutely useless. Because it is not linked into a national development plan. It's not linked into a national. Have the template. Ghana has a template. If Malaysia, Singapore, Korea came to take it from here, our national development plan to build their countries, look at where they are today. The only thing we need to do is to take the national development plan and tweak it to today's Ghana and see how we move forward. Because a lot of the
the CPP National Development Plan?
In Nkrumah's National Development Plan, yes. It is there. The template is there. We did in 5 years. Look at the number of industries that were built out of our National Development Plan. All this Akosombo Dam and motorway and all these hospitals, they were all built from...
A group calling itself Movement for Alhaji Hudu Yaya says it would resist any attempt by some group of persons within the National Democratic Congress to persuade the aspiring national chairman of the party to step down. The group alleges that one Dawood, a NADMO coordinator at Swedro, claims Hudu Yaya has been prevailed upon by the Ahoy group to step down for fears that he would emerge as winner in the upcoming national executive election.
The spokesperson for the group, Alice Anthony, explained at a press conference that the alleged NADMO coordinators' claim are false, but maintained if there is such plan, the group will take legal and mass action. She further told the media the said group has also embarked on a fatal move by undermining the intelligence of the delegates.
These criminals underestimate and undermine the intelligence of delegates by informing them that they are being mandated to notify delegates to vote for a particular candidate. Several other desperate efforts are being embarked upon intending to create confusion within the party. It is the fervent belief of this group that the claim by Mr. Dawood is false. But should any such move be made by any individual or group of individuals, this group would fearlessly resist it with all the tools available to us as citizens of Ghana and members of the great NDC party.
Alice Anthony is calling on the party's supporters to rally behind Alhaji Hudu Yaya because of his enormous experience in the party.
The sole Commissioner, Justice Yao Apau, charged by the President to investigate the payment of judgment debts and other related matters, is expected to conclude sittings on Thursday, November 6, 2014. This was revealed at Monday's sitting by Justice Apau after 2 years of holding public sittings. The sole Commissioner said his outfit will prepare the final report, which would be submitted to President John Mahama. He is expected to make recommendations to prevent unnecessary judgment debt payments to individuals and companies which have cost the country millions of Ghana cedis. President Mahama on October 8, 2012 saw in Justice Apau to investigate judgment debts, procedures for negotiations, contracts, execution, monitoring, and resolve disputes. His appointment came on the back of a series of payments to some individuals and institutions, including businessman Alfred Woyome, Waterville Holdings, and Isefferton SA. There's more to come here. Don't go away. Time now for some business stories, and there are growing concerns that government's revenue targets could be hard hit as the continuous fall in gold price has pushed down production in Ghana by about 7% in the first final 6 months of the year. Figures from the Minerals Commission shows that gold, which has in recent times seen a drastic decline in its price, saw a fall in production of 7% to 2,054 billion ounces. The situation has prompted some major mining firms to downsize the operations in the country. Gold, which contributes almost 1/3 of Ghana's revenue, last week dropped to its lowest in 4 years amid speculation the U.S. Federal Reserve is considering raising borrowing costs as other central banks add to stimulus, strengthening the dollar. Since June last year, gold prices have declined by 30% on the world market. Last week alone, the precious metal capped the first back-to-back monthly decline this year after dropping to about $1,161 an ounce, the lowest price since July 2010. Interest rates on government of Ghana issued treasury bills and bonds continue to rise despite stability being experienced by the local currency over the past 3 months. The Ghana cedi has seen some stability since August 2014, since the central bank relaxed its foreign exchange laws, coupled with announcement of the Eurobond and cocoa syndicated loan, as well as the IMF bailout. The cedi has even appreciated against the dollar. According to analysts, the analysts say that these factors have failed to rein in the interest rate as governments continues to borrow excessively from the market. The domestic cost of borrowing by government has now reached a 5-year record. As at the end of last month, government has been paying 25.75% per annum on 91-day debt, which is almost equivalent to 26 pesos on every cedi borrowed. That rate of interest is the highest since the third quarter of 2009, when 3-month borrowing costs peaked at almost 26%. You're still here on News Today. There's something I need you to see.
You have to be disciplined. Understand that pay for what? Come on, go lock him up. You don't have values for human life. I'll teach you. Come on. Look here. Lock him up and not the people up. Come on. Get down. Come on, get down. What do you mean? Nonsense. Talking about checking with you. Whether a junior or over, you have no respect for the lives of the people who are working. Midday Naja, it's about time. People realize the law is on that. Film it all, film it. I want you to show it. Nonsense.